footage is thermal. White shapes against black terrain. Timestamp reads 0247:13. Three figures moving through scrubland approximately 200 meters from the camera position. They're walking in formation. Perfect spacing. No flashlights. No hesitation in the dark. I was operating the drone from the mobile command unit. Sheriff's Department had requested air support for a search operation. Missing livestock. 43 head of cattle over 6 weeks. The ranchers were armed. Patrols were doubled. Nothing worked. The figures stop, simultaneously. No communication visible. No hand signals. They turned to face the same direction, north, toward the old mining access road. Then they drop. All three, onto hands and knees. The thermal signature changes, elongates. I adjusted the gain thinking it was a calibration error. It wasn't. What stood up was not what went down. The limbs were wrong. Too long. The proportions didn't match human skeletal structure. They moved forward, not running, loping. The gait was animal. Efficient. Predatory. I radioed it in. Dispatch didn't understand what I was describing. I didn't either. By the time the ground units arrived, the figures were gone. We found tracks, four-legged, clawed, but the stride length was nearly 7 feet. No native animal moves like that. No animal at all. I filed the report at SIR 415, recommended follow-up, requested analysis of the thermal data. I was told the footage was corrupted, unusable. I was told to run another patrol the following night. I was not told what the sheriff already knew. The second incident happened 60 hours later. 3 separate ranches reported the same thing within a 15-minute window. Cattle surrounded, divided into groups. Taken selectively, the kills were surgical, throats opened. Blood drained into the soil, no feeding, no scavenging afterward. One rancher, Hollis Kern, fired 12 rounds from a hunting rifle at a figure standing in his north pasture. He's a veteran. Former marksman. He doesn't miss at 60 yards. He said the figure didn't move, didn't react. The rounds hit. He heard them impact. The figure turned, looked directly at him, then walked into the tree line. Kern's hands were shaking when I interviewed him. He kept saying the same thing. It knew I was there the whole time. It let me shoot. By midday we had 40 calls, sightings across 12 miles. Always in groups, always at night, always moving with purpose. The sheriff called a briefing. 18 officers, 6 volunteer deputies. He stood at the front of the room and didn't use notes. He said we were dealing with coordinated trespassers, possibly drugged. Possibly using animal pelts or costumes to intimidate. He said we were authorized to detain on site. He said we would end this in 72 hours. Nobody asked why he looked so tired. Nobody asked why he'd requested ammunition requisitions 3 times the normal allotment. We deployed at dusk. I was assigned to a 2-man patrol with Deputy Ortiz. We took the North Sector, Forest Service Road, leading into the mining district. 17 miles of emptiness. Our radios were clear. Our weapons were loaded. We drove in silence. Ortiz saw it first, a figure standing in the road, 200 feet ahead, illuminated in the headlights, naked, pale, motionless. I stopped the vehicle, drew my sidearm, announced our presence. The figure didn't respond, didn't blink. Its arms hung too low, its head tilted at an angle that seemed anatomically incorrect. Ortiz opened his door. I told him to wait. He didn't listen. He stepped out, raised his flashlight. The beam hit the figure's face. It smiled. Not a human expression. The mouth was too wide. The teeth were too many. Ortiz fired. 3 round center mass. The figure staggered. Ortiz emptied his magazine. I did the same. 15 rounds between us. The figure crashed into the brush 30 feet from the vehicle. We heard it moving, circling, breathing in, wet, rattling gasps. Then we heard the others, voices in the dark, calling to each other, not words, not animal sounds. Something older, rhythmic, intentional. Ortiz tried the radio, static. He tried his cell phone, no signal. He looked at me and said, "We need to leave." I put the vehicle in reverse. The engine died. We heard footsteps on the roof. I don't remember climbing out of the vehicle. I remember running. I remember branches tearing at my jacket. I remember Ortiz behind me, breathing hard, saying my name over and over like a prayer. We reached a clearing. Moonlight made it visible, 50 feet across, empty. Ortiz stopped, bent over, hands on his knees. He said, "We're going to die out here." I told him we weren't. I didn't believe it. That's when the firelight appeared, a ring of small flames. Arranged in a perfect circle, 12 points, evenly spaced, burning without fuel, without sound. The air above them shimmered. The temperature dropped. In the center of the circle, something was forming. Not summoned, not arriving, forming. Like the air was solidifying. The shape was enormous. 10 feet tall, skeletal. Its limbs were too thin. Its head was crowned with bone. Its eyes were black and endless. It looked at me. Not past me. Not through me. At me. I felt it inside my skull. A voice without sound. It spoke in a language I didn't know but understood perfectly. You were taught to forget. Your family tried to sever the line, but the land remembers. The duty remains. You will answer, or everything you protect will burn. The flames went out. The clearing was empty. Ortiz was gone. I ran. I found the road at dawn. A sheriff's unit picked me up 20 minutes later. I was incoherent, dehydrated. They took me to the station, put me in an observation room, gave me water, a blanket. I asked about Ortiz. They told me to rest. 2 hours later, the sheriff entered. He sat across from me, didn't speak for a long time. Then he said, "You saw it." I nodded. He said, "Your grandfather knew what you'd see. He tried to prepare you. Your father refused to listen, refused to teach you. He thought he could break the chain." I asked what he was talking about. He said, "Your family has acted as wardens for 6 generations. When the balance breaks, when the old laws are violated, someone must restore it. That responsibility was yours from birth. You can refuse, but refusal doesn't end the duty. It only delays it. And while you delay, people die." I told him I didn't know how to do anything he was describing. He said, "You'll learn, or you'll fail. Either way, this ends with you." They found Ortiz 3 days later, alive, unconscious. He woke up in the hospital with no memory of the night. No explanation for the 30 miles between where we separated and where he was discovered. The attacks continued. 4 more ranches, 60 head of cattle, 2 civilians injured, 1 in critical condition. The sheriff brought me to his office. An older woman was waiting. She introduced herself as Dr. Vos. She taught anthropology at the State University. She specialized in cultural memory, in oral histories, in things the modern world had categorized as superstition. She said, "What you're facing is older than this country, older than the farms, older than the mines. This land was a boundary, a place where forces were kept separate. Your ancestors maintained that separation through ritual, through observance, through sacrifice." I asked what kind of sacrifice. She said, "Time, vigilance, sometimes blood. The things you saw in the forest are not creatures. They're echoes, fragments of will given form. Someone summoned them. Someone fed them. Someone broke the boundary intentionally." I asked who. She said, "That doesn't matter. What matters is stopping it. The ritual your family used is still viable. The tools still exist. But it requires a warden. It requires you." I told her I didn't believe in rituals. She said, "Then you'll watch everyone you know disappear, one by one, until nothing is left but the echoes." I refused. I told them to find someone else. I told them I was a county employee, a drone operator. I wasn't qualified for whatever they were describing. The sheriff leaned back in his chair. He said, "Your grandfather performed the rite 14 times. The last time was 3 months before he died. He was 81 years old. He walked 6 miles into the forest alone. He didn't tell anyone where he was going. He came back 3 days later. He never spoke about it, but the attacks stopped. For 30 years they stopped." He slid a photograph across the desk. My grandfather, standing in a clearing, holding a staff. His face was calm, resolute. Behind him, barely visible in the shadows, were shapes, watching, waiting. The sheriff said, "He trained your father. Your father refused to continue. Said it was folklore, said it wasn't real. 2 years later, your father disappeared. No body, no evidence, just gone. Your grandfather never forgave himself." I looked at the photograph. I remembered my grandfather, the way he used to watch the tree line, the way he never stayed out after dark, the way he used to whisper to himself in a language I didn't recognize. I said, "What do I have to do?" Dr. Vos took me to the university archive, a sub-basement, locked cabinets, documents written in symbols I didn't recognize. She translated. The ritual was specific. It required 3 components: a token of lineage, a circle of salt drawn at the center of the violation, and a recitation. 12 lines, spoken without hesitation, without error. She said, "The words re-establish the boundary. They remind the echoes what they are. They sever the summoner's connection. But you must be alone. If anyone else is present, the boundary collapses. The echoes will consume everything within a mile." I asked what happened if I made a mistake. She said, "The echoes will recognize you as an intruder. They'll take you instead. You'll become one of them, forever." I asked if there was an alternative. She said, "No." I spent 2 days preparing, memorizing the recitation, practicing the cadence. Dr. Vos corrected my pronunciation 40 times. She said the language was older than Latin, older than Sanskrit. It existed before written words. It had to be spoken exactly. The sheriff gave me the token, a bone knife, carved from elk antler, 6 inches long. My grandfather's initials were etched into the base. It was cold to the touch. Even in summer heat, it never warmed, he said. When you stand in the circle, you'll feel them watching. Don't look at them. Don't acknowledge them. Speak the words. Finish the rite. Walk away. If you run, you're dead. If you stop, you're dead. If you look back, you're dead. I asked how he knew. He said, because I've seen 12 people try. Only your grandfather succeeded. I drove to the site alone. The mining access road, the clearing where I'd seen the ring of fire. It was dusk. The air was still. No birds, no insects. Silence so complete, it felt physical. I parked, took the salt, took the knife. Walked to the center. The ground was scorched, 12 points where the flames had burned. The grass hadn't grown back. The soil was black. I poured the salt, a circle, 6 feet across, unbroken. I stood in the center, held the knife, began the recitation. The words felt wrong in my mouth, too sharp, too heavy, but I didn't stop. On the 4th line, the temperature dropped. My breath misted. The shadows at the tree line moved, figures emerging, dozens, circling. Their eyes reflected light that wasn't there. On the 7th line, 1 step forward. It spoke. Its voice was my father's. It said, you don't have to do this. You can join us. You can be free. I didn't answer. I continued. On the 10th line, the ground shook. The circle of salt glowed, white light, blinding. The figures recoiled, shrieking, not in pain, in rage. I finished the 12th line. The light exploded outward, a wave of force. The figures disintegrated, not burned, erased. The air snapped back into place. The silence returned. I stood in the circle for 10 minutes, waiting. Nothing moved, nothing came. I walked back to the vehicle. I didn't look back. I didn't run. I drove to the station, filed my report. The sheriff read it, nodded once, said, it's done. The attack stopped. Immediately. No more sightings. No more kills. The ranchers returned to normal operations. The volunteers went home. Life resumed. The official report listed the incidents as mass hysteria, drug-fueled trespassers, coordinated harassment. 17 people were treated for psychological distress. No arrests were made. No criminal charges filed. The footage from my drone was classified as corrupted, deleted. The thermal data was never analyzed. The sheriff retired 6 months later. Dr. Vos returned to the university. I never saw her again. Ortiz transferred to another county. He doesn't return my calls. I still operate the drone. I still patrol the back roads, but now I carry the knife. I keep the salt in my glove compartment. I know the recitation by memory. 3 weeks ago I received a call. A ranch 2 counties over. Missing livestock. Coordinated kills. Figures in the dark. The sheriff from that county asked if I consult. I told him I would. I drove out yesterday. Assessed the site. Recognized the patterns, the spacing, the intention. I'll return tonight alone. I'll draw the circle. I'll speak the words. Because the work doesn't end. The boundary doesn't maintain itself. Someone has to remember. Someone has to act. That's what wardens do. The cases keep coming. I keep answering. That's the job.